Heather, it's great to have you here. And I mean, I think your book title kind of says it all. The Economics of Work-Life Conflict. What are we going to see happen this year?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you started off this segment with the enormous achievements of women in terms of achieving parity in terms of their participation in the labor force prior to the coronavirus crisis. But this crisis and the crisis of care that has ensued, with schools closed, with daycares closed, with families being unable to find ways to care for children and for others while they have to work, this is really going to make it hard for millions of women and other caregivers to fully participate in the labor market.
Yeah,
and that's going to have an impact on family incomes.
Sure. And again, a lot of families are facing the choice, okay, if one parent steps back, which one? And whose career can we either most afford to give up or most trust will be there when we come back? It's really difficult. Companies you said are including Salesforce, Pepsi, Uber, and Pinterest have signed a pledge, Stand Up for Working Parents, to offer more flexibility and resources. I know here CNBC has just boosted its offerings as well. Is it enough? Is it enough to make a material difference?
Well, it certainly helps, right? And it's certainly important. So the extent to which firms are providing support, the extent to which we get Congress to make sure that everybody has paid sick days and paid family leave so that they can take time off to care, addressing school closures, all of this can help. But I think at the end of the day, the enormous stress on families, both families that are trying to have parents telecommute from home, but trying to do that with little kids at home, or also homeschooling, but also those that are out there in the workforce and don't have some place for their children to go that's safe and enriching during the day. I do think that this burden, given what we know, is most likely to fall on women.
Yeah. And Heather, here's what's interesting to me. There's the short-term effect in which this is a giant nightmare for everybody. But there's the longer-term thinking where they say, well, maybe my life shouldn't be structured this way. And thanks to technology now, maybe it doesn't have to be. There's more gig work available. There's technology. I can work from home part of the week. My husband and I can each go into the office half a week. We can have our kids at home. We can basically have them do school from home because we realize it's not that hard. So is it possible that this is the apex of us ever perhaps seeing women more than half the workforce? Or do you think that those numbers remain constant, but the nature of the work changes?
Well, I do think that we're likely to see more women going part-time and dropping out. And I really want to emphasize that this is an issue right now in 2020, as we're sort of getting it, at the start of the school year. But this is an issue that's going to follow us for a really long time, for years into the future, because the decisions that families are making right now on whose career to put on hold, who to sort of step back, and it could even be just not necessarily stepping back in terms of hours, but in terms of taking on more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That worker who 6 months ago was like, well, I'm going to go for that promotion, is now like, oh, I've also got to homeschool. I'm not going to do that. This is going to have a long-term effect on women's economic progress. And I do think it will set them back, unfortunately. And that is why we really need policies that can support working parents.